So everyone, welcome to today's video. We're going to be going through my journey to six figures with Amazon FBA and scaling past six figures using Amazon FBA Wholesale. Now, you've heard in the previous videos, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, great for beginners, but building a successful, long-term, sustainable business is, in my opinion, Amazon Wholesale and some other advanced business models we can talk about another time. What I'm going to do today, take you through a day in the life type of sort of me running my Amazon Wholesale business and drop a lot of gems on how I got to where I got and how you can do the same. So what actually is Amazon FBA Wholesale? Now, Amazon FBA Wholesale is where you buy in bulk, either from a distributor, a brand, or from a wholesaler. Wholesale distributor are pretty much the same thing. Now, the reason why I went about this approach is because one, in my opinion, it provides a lot more consistent income than online arbitrage does, in terms of you have to kind of be on the ball with online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, Amazon to Amazon, on it constantly. I run some other businesses as well, and alongside university, I found that wholesale was a lot better in terms of managing my time. Now, in terms of startup capital, I wouldn't start wholesale if you haven't got around 1.5k, and that will include sort of money for a mentor as well. I would recommend getting a mentor for wholesale. Me personally, I did. That's how I got to where I got. Plus also applying my own strategy, which we'll discuss a bit later. But build yourself up with online arbitrage and retail if you don't have the money yet. But if you do, get into wholesale, get yourself a mentor like my student Alex, who hit 25k in his first month with wholesale, with my strategy. It's no joke. If done properly and learned from the right person and you have the right capital, you can succeed with it. Again, it is difficult. It requires hard work, but so does anything. So with wholesale, we're focusing on brands mainly, in terms of, okay, let's give it an example. We want to focus on Nestle, which is a brand, or Cadbury's. And what we do is we try and stock the whole brand. We work with the brand and we build that long-term brand portfolio of, we know every month we're selling Cadbury products. And then we look to have a certain amount of units each month. We look to buy in high quantities. And this often gives us that long-term plan, long-term vision. What I'll keep saying in this video is build brand by brand. So imagine you start with Cadbury, you get that to a certain point, maybe £1,000, £2,000 a month. You then add another brand, Nestle, £1,000 to £2,000 a month. You then add another brand. And then in your way, you're building a portfolio of brands. You can take the foot off the gas a little bit, but I would recommend still sourcing to kind of account for if any of those listings get affected. But that's essentially Amazon Wholesale in a nutshell. But it wasn't all glitz and glamour for me. When I started Amazon Wholesale, I tried to do the generic approach of finding suppliers, kind of working things out myself, and it didn't work, if I'm honest. A lot of people struggle with that as well, and it's not a surprise. It's a difficult game to get into without the correct strategy. Now, what I did was I got a mentor and also spoke to people in the industry, seven-figure sellers, used free game, watched videos like this to help me understand what it actually is, what the strategy should be, how to find these suppliers, how to work with these brands. And then I created my own strategy. Now, my strategy involves, like I said, working from brand to brand. The reason I do that is because it provides you long-term opportunities, such as brand exclusivity, where you may work with the brand as the only Amazon seller on the listing and manage their portfolio. Additionally, I source products first and then I go to the brand. So I will know before the supplier that I contact or the brand that I contact what I want. In that way, that gives me leverage. My negotiation power is higher, and we'll discuss a few of these things in the video. But that is my strategy in a nutshell, and I use a few little tricks and sourcing techniques to do that. Again, this is something that I discussed in the mentorship. Students like Alex have done, and as you can see, it's got good results. It's working for me. It's a current strategy. It's updated, and I'll always look to sort of add anything extra. Now, one common misconception is that you need to be VAT registered to do well in wholesale. That is a very, very wrong way of going about it. When you do scale, when you become VAT registered, it does make things easier in terms of in the UK. But when you're not VAT registered, and me personally, my strategy was going for overseas suppliers because they don't charge VAT on the cost. So for example, European suppliers, Asian suppliers, USA suppliers and brands. And in that way, you're not paying VAT on your upfront costs. You don't pay it on your sale anyway. It all works out. Rather than when you're VAT registered, you can claim the costs back and things like that. That's not something to worry about right now, but don't use that as an excuse. There's always a way around the problems that you create for yourself in your head. Now that I've summed up kind of what it is, my strategy, I'm going to take you inside one of my local wholesalers that I go to. Local wholesalers are a good way to establish relationships and find products, leverage suppliers as well. And I'm going to show you the importance of creating relationships and also what you can find locally to you. So we're at a local wholesaler now, and these are quite good for you to actually just go in and scan some wholesale products. A lot of you who like retail arbitrage and scanning products, getting a feel for things, pop down to a local wholesaler and see what sells, see what brands are good, and then go back home later, maybe have a check of some of the products. You can check the brand on the listing, the brand owner of the product. You can check where they're getting it from in terms of where this wholesaler is receiving the products from. On the back of the cases, there'll be the distributor information. All of these things are really good as a beginner, just to get involved, have a look around at what is selling, what brands are good, where they're getting it from, and then create your own vision in your head of what you need to do and where you need to go. Now, building relationships with your suppliers is very, very important. The brand, sales reps and things like this, they're going to be your best friends. You need to be able to build a relationship, be transparent with them as well. A lot of people jump in and they're like, yeah, you'll lie to the brand and be like, oh, we don't sell on Amazon. Like, if they ask you, then express, oh yeah, we sell some products on Amazon, or we sell across multiple channels online. You don't have to sort of be like, yeah, we're only Amazon sellers. Again, you're going to brand yourself as more of a supplier, but be upfront with them, be clear with what you want. And that's why we go for products first. If you know what products you want, the supplier is going to sort of listen to you more. If you just go in, oh, we want a trade account, they get that all the time. You know, be a bit more consistent, be a bit more sort of open with what you want. All right, I want this, and I want this many units. I want this brand. And that's why we do the product sourcing first and then go to the brand. Otherwise, like I said, from my experience, when I used to just go to a supplier and be like, can I have a trade account? Just get rejected, because they get that every other day. And the reason we also go with this product-based strategy is because we know what our max cost is. So if we know how much we want the unit for, then we're in a better place to negotiate as well. We come in with how many units we want, what price we want. It's better to be clear and get a clear answer, whether it's a yes or a no, or we can see what we can do, than come and waste loads of time going, oh, I want a trade account. Oh, I want this product. Oh, I'm gonna look through your price list. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, I want this, 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 and this. And if you're clear with them, they know you are an experienced businessman or businesswoman. You know, if you come on an approach where you show your inexperience, they're gonna avoid you, okay? So come in a way where you're telling them exactly what it is you want, and you're almost saying to them, all right, if you can't match this, I'll go elsewhere. And you'll find that with brand direct, you'll get the best prices, but with distributors, you can squeeze their margin down depending on whether you're going to be a long-term consistent buyer. And obviously I keep talking about this strategy, what it consists of. If you really want to know, you want to find out what I actually do script-wise, what suppliers I go for, which brands I go for, you can either drop into the link in my bio, click on my Instagram and message me there, or fill out the mentorship application form below. Like I said, I don't accept everyone. There will need to be some questions you fill out, but if you're interested and committed to Amazon Wholesale, I'll be willing to help. Now, one thing I'll say is generic health and personal care products like your Lynx's, Dove, Shaw, and things like that, they're going to be difficult to work with the brand. So the brand is actually Unilever. So you might think the brand is Lynx and you're trying to contact Lynx, but on the sort of packaging, it will tell you who the brand owner is. So as you can see here, it's Unilever UK. It will tell you the phone number as well, the email address. Now, I would avoid these sorts of brands in health and personal care, the big ones. Again, minimum orders are very high. You're not going to be able to compete with Amazon on some of these listings. So these big brands you want to avoid. We want to go for somewhat sub brands in sub niches that got somewhat low competition, and you know, Amazon on them, their minimum orders are a bit lower. And again, to find those brands, there's a specific method that we use. And if you want to know more about that, like I said, check the Instagram, check the mentorship form, and we can go through it. Now, another important thing is test orders. Don't get overexcited when you see a good product. Always test order it. You want to see how competition performs on the listings. With wholesale, you might think less competition, but they come in a lot harder in terms of stock, in terms of pricing. It's not going to be 1 or 2 units. It's going to be hundreds, for example. So just be careful of that. Again, keep that long-term mindset with wholesale. It's not going to be fast. You have to go through a lot of reps. It's almost like when you go to the gym, you want to get a good body, you need to put in the reps, okay? You're going to need to contact a lot of suppliers. You're going to hear the word no a lot of the time. I've certainly have, but you will get a yes after a while, and that yes will pay you well, and it will pay you for a long time. And now that you've seen me sort of go to these local wholesalers, discuss sourcing, suppliers and stuff like that, I'm actually going to take you back home to my office where I go and do all the deep work, contacting, inventory management, all of those sorts of back-end stuff that people don't often show. And that's really where the work comes. So we're going to take you back and I'm going to show you what we do. So we're back now at the home office, and this is where I actually go about doing all the day-to-day activities that we've mentioned so far in the video, like contacting suppliers, keeping track of my inventory, pricing, and also just managing the day-to-day business things that need to be done. So for example, what I do in order to kind of manage things is I'll use a spreadsheet. I use Google Forms, and what I'll do is I'll have a template which allows me to put in the brand, the supplier, the contact info, the status, which is very important, whether I've contacted them, whether I haven't contacted them, whether it's been rejected. Then I'll put the date contacted, again, very important in case I need to follow up, for example, and any extra notes like people's names, because names are very important. We discuss relationships. It's very important to maybe write down who you spoke to in reception, who the sales rep is, etc. And that just allows you to understand a bit more what the company does, and you can then seem more professional when you do go and contact them. So remember, keep organized in this sense. As a beginner, you're going to need to do this by yourself. Later down the line, you can scale, but it's not very difficult to keep on top of stuff. You just need to put it in your routine, keep it non-negotiable, and go from there. So obviously, we just discussed finding suppliers and finding and then contacting them, but how do we actually find those products that I mentioned before, which is my strategy? I use a software called Keeper. Keeper is very, very important for analyzing and then also having a look at products that match our criteria to become a wholesale product, an anchor product is what I like to call it. And obviously, if you want to know more about what that criteria is, how to actually use the software, this is all discussed in the mentorship, and that is in the link in the bio, so make sure to fill out the form. That is what I do for sourcing. Now, in terms of consistency and management, one thing I will say is small details go a long way. Consistency is very key. It's important for you to do small things every day, contacting a few suppliers a day and making note of products that you find each day, brands that you find each day, and it will build up. It's not going to be on the day that you find a product, you're going to buy it. It's not like arbitrage. It's more of at the end of the month, how many have you contacted? How many have you converted? Have you placed an order? And then that's how you go from there. So it's a long-term game. You have to have a long-term vision. You have to be patient, but it's very, very effective alongside a 9-to-5, alongside university, alongside a job, because like I said, it's just little bits every day building alongside your job that ends up giving you and generating the income that can allow you to escape your work or university. The reason why I did take a year out of university was due to Amazon Wholesale, because I was able to still do the other stuff I needed to do, but I did wholesale alongside it. And then when I scaled enough to a certain point that I was happy with, then I decided that it was time to go full time. Now I mentioned conversion rate. Conversion rate can vary. Don't expect that if you contact 5 brands, 5 suppliers, you're going to work with them. Maybe go for a conversion rate of 2 out of 5. I usually say 1 out of 4, so 25%. And that way, again, you're not feeling disheartened when you get rejected. Make sure that you understand that you will hear no a lot of the time. It's just about keeping on going. And the people that break through that barrier of rejection are the ones that do well. I've been rejected by so many suppliers, so many brands, but the fact that I keep going is what separates me from someone who doesn't get the results that I get to. So you want to make sure that you don't get disheartened. You understand it's a numbers game, a long-term game, a volume game as well, and you keep pushing in that way. Now, to sum up what I've kind of said here, the key takeaways for behind the scenes is management, keeping track of your inventory, example, reordering and things like that. And then also having that spreadsheet just to kind of allow you to keep track of who you're contacting, how much work you are doing, because you can have a look at the end of the month to see, have I actually done what needed to be done? And then you have no excuses. If you see you're lacking and you're slacking in terms of workload, then you know what you need to do. But if you're not organized, and then you might delude yourself into thinking you're actually doing work when you're not actually. So have it all written down, have a look at what you have done in terms of performance, and then analyze based on that. All right, it's only right for me to show you Amazon FBA wholesale in practice when you do scale to big numbers. This is something called a pallet, and what happens is when you order large quantities from a supplier, they will put a load of boxes, a load of units on a pallet, just makes things easier for them. And obviously it's large volume, so they can't shove it all in boxes. And these are some of the volumes that you will get when you get to higher levels. Now, don't get stressed out about pallets as a beginner. I got to 6 figures with Amazon actually without even ordering a pallet. It's scaling after, and from a lot of UK suppliers in big volumes, there's things called layers and cases and things like that. That's when you can kind of order pallets. And remember, more capital means pallets, better pricing. So obviously you're aiming towards that pallet mark. But like I said, as a beginner, don't worry too much about pallets. Don't get stressed out. They are somewhat easy to handle. You just need to make sure that the pallet delivery brings a forklift. Now, some companies don't deliver pallets to residential addresses, so that's where prep centers and things come into place. But this is at a residential address and I've been fine, so you can get around it a little bit. Now, pallet costs can vary. Some pallets can cost you a 10 odd grand, some can cost you 1 grand. This one here, couple thousand basically, and the margin on these are usually 30 to 50%. Now, sometimes I do get some wholesale products which are 100% ROI, which means if I spend £1,000, I'll get 1,000 back. But with wholesale, understand it's a volume game. You're looking for 30 to 50% ROI, profit margin around 15 to 20%, and that should do you well in terms of your numbers. If you're doing £100,000 in sales, you want to be doing 15 to 20k profit, and that's the reality with Amazon wholesale. Margins will drop slightly, but your volume picks up, so you can scale more. And like I said, it's all relative. You know, with online arbitrage and some of these other methods, you kind of get to a certain point and then margin might have to drop anyway. Don't get attached to your margins. Keep it relative. You know, most businesses out there aren't doing this sort of profit margin. Most wholesalers are doing very low margins. So this in itself is a blessing. And, you know, just try and increase your margins by using some of the tactics that we've spoken about today, exclusivity, brand direct and things like that. But, you know, this is real life example of how much you can spend, how much you can get back. And almost this can pretty much replace your 9-to-5 income. And that's why I've gone full time with Amazon, because something like this can actually replace your income and lead you to creating a successful business and portfolio. So remember, when you're doing Amazon FBA, wholesale especially, it's not about overnight success. It's about building something sustainable and building something long term. Like I said, I've scaled this brand to now ordering pallet quantities by dominating the Amazon listing, by having a better relationship with the supplier. And think about it this way: when you look at people who do property, they'll have their first property, and then what do? They, you know, get another one, they get another one, they get another, and they build that way. And you don't see them trying to get 10 properties in the space of 2 months, okay? It can take years, and that's something, and a certain mindset that you need with Amazon wholesale, and something you need to accept. Brand by brand, month by month, year by year, you will build a sustainable business. And like I said, there's a lot more protection if you use some of the methods I've spoken to you about, but it can be a very lucrative business and something that can change your lives and situations. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what part of this video resonated with you, what kind of sat the most with you. If you're doing Amazon wholesale right now, if any little tips helped you as well. And if you're new, looking to get into Amazon wholesale, go to the link in my bio and fill out the one-to-one mentorship inquiry, and I'll look to see if I can take you on. See you on the other side.